Hey guys, hey everybody, welcome back to the workshop. We finally got some time to get a few things done here in the shop and make a video. So this is a huge update for me. We finally got the DRO installed on the Bridgeport Mill, and it's been a long time coming, something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but there's always something else that ends up being a higher priority. So this is a brand that there aren't that many videos on, so I'm going to do a review of the display unit first and show some of the features, and then if there's time we'll take a look at some of the install clips toward the end. But yeah, so I'll bring you guys in closer, we'll take a close look and go through some of the features and the reasons why I chose this brand. I paid for this out of pocket, just like anybody else. Nothing is sponsored. I'm no DRO expert at all. This is just a home shop guy. I do have a DRO on the lathe, but this is the first one I've ever worked with on a milling machine. So bear that in mind. I'm not a pro. I'm learning as I'm going here. Okay, let's come in closer and have a look. So I had a criteria list for picking out a DRO. So the first thing that I wanted was something affordable. I'm just a home shop guy, just hobbyist. I don't have any revenue coming in, so it had to be affordable, okay? I mean, which of course means import. I mean, it is what it is, right? So that was number one. All right. So second item is I wanted an LCD display. My eyes are getting old. It's much easier to look at an LCD. It's much easier on the eyes. Okay. And this one, they've got, you know, all different color schemes you can adjust and so forth. I just left it stock. Okay, it's just fine, just the way it came out of the box. Okay. Also with the LCD, you get, they can throw additional information on the display as well. Okay. The third item that was important to me was customer service. Do they have a support line that you can call or email? Do they have a website with information, that kind of stuff? So that kind of eliminated a bunch of the ones that you see on eBay and similar sites like that, okay? Yeah, all right. So a little bit about this one. This is an Aikron, or maybe it's Aikron. I'm not exactly sure what the exact pronunciation is. So this is a model A30. It's kind of their top of the line model. They may have one other more powerful one, but this is kind of their premier unit, and it's very affordable. Okay, we'll look at pricing a little later, and I'll show you the invoice, exactly what I paid and so forth. But yeah, the pricing was good. Okay, the customer support, we'll look at their website also. So they are based in China. They do have a phone number. I have tried calling the phone number unsuccessfully. And it may have been something I was doing wrong with the country code or whatever, but I couldn't get through on the phone number. On the website, they have request information or whatever, where you can put in your name and a message and so forth, and send it to them, and they'll email you back. That didn't work. I tried it a couple times. It did not work. It might have been my browser, I don't know, but they also had their email addressed for sales support and so forth. When I emailed them with a regular email, they got back to me, very timely. I reached out to them 3 times, and they always came back within, overnight, let's say, because they're in a different time zone, with the answers that I needed. So I was happy about that. Okay. Okay, so then other criteria were some nice to have things that I was looking for. One of the things I wanted was a fourth axis, because if I ever want to put a scale on the quill, I wanted to have that fourth axis. And this is a 4-axis unit. And let me just quickly go into the settings here. And we can go to access settings. It's very easy to get around. And let's see here. I went to the wrong place. Okay, let's go up here to DRO setting. There we go. Enter and move down right here. Number of axes. And of course, it won't let you put in more than you actually have. To change that, you got to use this wrench button. Boom, 4. Okay, enter. And cancel. All right, so there we go. There's our fourth axis, which doesn't have anything connected currently. Now it does have axis combining. So my goal at some point is to put another scale on the quill and combine the U, or a lot of times they'll call it the Z1. Combine those two readings together for a common measurement. Okay, it has that capability. All right. Let's see, what else? The other thing is a metal enclosure. This is aluminum, not plastic. So that was a big one for me. I really didn't want a plastic cased unit. Okay, so it's actual metal, aluminum, or aluminium for you other guys enclosure. Okay. The other thing that was nice to have is a graphic display, or real-time graphic display. So I'll go to there in a second. So it's got all the typical standard milling machine functions, you know, bolt circles, grid patterns, line radiuses, and so on and so forth. It doesn't have the individual buttons. It's part of the function keys here. So you can see all the different choices here at the bottom, and you can navigate across. There's your half function. I believe that's a coordinate entry, I'm not sure. There's your compensation for tuning your scales. Not sure what that one is. And then this one here allows you to adjust. Let's go to our incremental mode. So you have these little indicators that show you which way you need to go to get back to 0. And it also will show your movement. Let's do the x-axis. See, it's moving. And we get back in the middle right there. And that tells us that we're close to 0. So it's just a visual aid to help you with navigating when you're moving your axes. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, it's also got, you know, standard datums. It's the 200 datums that you can put in. That's pretty typical. Okay. They do have a touch probe option, so you can actually hook up a touch probe, but you have to make sure that you spec out your unit with a touch probe input. I elected not to add that. I didn't think I would really use it. Okay. They also have an RPM input, and it would show up right here with an RPM display. That's another option that you have to configure when you're ordering the unit if you want that. Okay. A little bit of information here. We're in milling machine mode. It has several different modes. It's got lathe mode, milling mode, grinder mode, and EDM mode. Okay, and you can see we're in inch, and right now we're in incremental. Let's see what happens when we go back now. ABS. Okay, absolute. All right, and then here is your feed rate. So as you're moving any of the axes, you'll get a feed rate. Okay, that's kind of handy. All right, and you can turn that on and off if you don't like seeing it there. Okay, so let's look at this graphical display. So let's just go to bolt circle. So it gives you a little drawing of what you're going to do, okay? And it's got all your typical bolt circle settings here. So your X, Y, center, your diameter, the mode, 360 equal. Let's see if we can change that to equal angle, radiant angle, or 360 equal. Just leave it on that one for now. Okay. Start angle, end angle, number of holes. Okay. And then when you're happy with everything, you just hit enter, and now you're in operating mode. So you'll get an indicator of where you're actually at. So this is pretty handy. So it lets you dial in visually without, and get close without having to, watch your numbers clicking off. Okay, I think that's a really handy feature. And then we go to the next one. Oops, there we go. Next hole, and so forth. Okay, I think that's a really cool little bonus feature. All right, we'll cancel out of that. And if we go to the other modes, like if we go to grid pattern, same concept. I think I've got one saved in here. Let's go to, yeah, drawing 2. So there's like if you were going to do a palette, you lay out a grid pattern. If we enter, you'll get the same kind of or similar display where you can move your actual location to the target location. And then, of course, you can advance through your holes. Yeah, I really like that. That's pretty neat. It also has that for your simple radius. So we've got a 2-inch radius, just a 90-degree quadrant. And let's see if we can increase the number of holes here. Actually, this goes by your cutting tool diameter and your maximum step over, and whether you want inside edge or outside edge. Okay, so let's go enter. Okay, and same thing. It's got our actual location, which helps you line up on your target hole. And then if you advance through, you can see all the locations that we need to hit. I think that's really neat. Stefan Gotteswinte, I'm sure a lot of you guys watch him. He did a video on how to do this. It's a very good video. I'll put a link in the description to that video as well. Okay, so here, this is your combining function, where you can pick which axes you want to combine. We mentioned that earlier, so that's how you set it. Okay. Here, this one, this is a hard reference, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how you use this, but you can set up a known hard reference on your machine and save it, so that if you have a power outage while you're milling and you lose your incremental values, you can use this as a recovery to go back and reactivate your reference. At least that's the way I understand it. Okay, here's another nice thing. All the screens have a help button, and it's very intuitive. So it's basically the information that you would find in the book, but it's drilled down for just this specific function. So a very good help system. So that, and I've used this a bunch. Okay, and it does come with the manual, which is actually pretty dang good. And I'm guessing they provide the manual for the language that you order the display in, because this is only in English. And they did a pretty good job of translating. There's only a couple spots here in the manual where you got to kind of try to figure out what they're talking about. But overall it's pretty good. Okay. Yeah, so the help is very, very intuitive. All right, let's get out of that. And this is kind of nice. It's got a calculator. Okay. So the cool thing about the calculator is you can pick up one of your axes and import it into the calculator. So let's say we want to pick up this y-axis. We just hit the 0 button here, and it moves it up to the calculator, and then we can do whatever math we're doing. Let's say we're just dividing by 2, enter, okay, and then you can transfer that value back to that axis just by hitting your select button here. Boom. So I can see that being really handy. Okay. You can have up to 5 decimal places, and I put it at 5 when I was setting the compensation so I'd have better resolution, and then I rolled everything back to 4 decimal places. I may even roll back to 3, you know, once I get a little more comfortable and, you know, and see how I like running it. Okay. But that's all adjustable. And I'm going to turn that 4th axis off because we're not using it, which is really easy to do. We already did it once, but let's do it again. DRO settings, enter, number of axes, and I'm just going to change it to 3. Boom. Okay, this is where you can change your display colors and language and all that. It's all real intuitive, easy to set up. Okay. All right, there we go, 3 axes. Okay. So the other thing, this came from China. Actually, it's shipped out of Hong Kong, according to the shipping label when I got it. And when I ordered it, I was thinking, oh man, China, you know, it's going to take a month to get here, right? 5 days. It was here in 5 days. They sent it air freight, so which is good, so it doesn't get banged around so much. And it was pretty well packaged, but yeah, shipping time was quick. Yep. All right, well, let's go to their website real quick, and I'll show you the costs, and we'll look at their website a little bit, and I'll also show you what I paid. Okay, so they have quite a few options.
Here's their main website, and they do offer accessories plus several different types of displays. And here's their package deal. If we kind of focus in on the Bridgeport Mill package, let's take a look at that. So you have a few options you can adjust here, and this is kind of what you're looking at for price here, $377. And of course, we're talking November of 2024. Here's the A30 display. This is just a 3-axis, pretty basic. It's only $5 to add an additional axis, so that's really reasonable. And then here's what I ended up paying. I upgraded the scales to 1 micron, and I have one magnetic scale there, which is a little bit more money. And their shipping is a little pricey, but I mean, it's air freight. It's coming all the way from China, so it is what it is.
All right, I'm just doing a handheld with my phone here, guys. We'll do a quick walk around. I'll show you the install. One thing to note is the display mounting arms that come with this unit are pretty wimpy. So I just made my own. I think that's what most people do. Okay, so yeah, so let me come around the back side here. All right, so there's the back of the display, and here's the arms that I made. Okay, cable routing is a challenge because everything moves. You know, the head moves, the ram moves, the turret turns, the knee moves up and down. Yeah, so you got to have a lot of slack. You can't really do much of any, you know, very detailed cable management. So yeah, so here's what we got. So there's my Z scale. Okay, I mounted it a little different than most. I got it facing out. I think that'll be okay because I've got the chip guard here, so I think it'll be safe. And then let's come around this way. And there is the Y. Okay, this one's a magnetic scale. Okay, and come around the back over here. And I put the X table scale on the back here. And cabling had to go around this way. This was the only choice that I had. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much the install. These arms, I think they'll be long enough. I can always make new ones if not. I mean, it comes out here, you know, fairly comfortable. I still have the membrane on here. That's what this little red, whoops, there we go. I still have the membrane on the display. That's what this little red tab is for peeling it off. And there is a plastic hood. Let me grab it. Yeah, so there's the plastic protective hood. It was kind of wrinkled up the way it was packed in the box. So hopefully with time, it'll kind of flatten out a little better. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Hopefully that helps somebody if they're interested in one of these Aikron DROs. I'll throw in some footage of the various install, mainly on the scales that I was doing. It's all handheld video, very shaky, so warning in advance. Okay, thanks everybody for stopping by, and hopefully we'll get another couple of videos out soon. All right, we'll see you later. So using the theory that low tech is sometimes the best tech, all I did was, with a machinist square, I just transferred our center line or mounting bolt, or whatever you want to call it, plug, on the tape there, and then I brought this up level. It was much easier when I had both hands, not one holding the camera. And then I just brought up our center line mark for our bolt hole or screw hole. So this should represent the distance that we need, or the length that we need to remove off of our scale. Okay, so for my friends across the ponds, don't fall out of your chairs, but I actually own a metric tape measure. All right, so I carefully measured our marks that we did over on the mill, and I came up with we need to cut 24 millimeters. Well, 24.2 off of our length. Our usable scale length is 370. Subtract the 24, that gives us a 346 usable millimeters of travel, and we only need 305 for the 12 inches of travel that this mill has. So we should be good, okay? I was going to try some alternative measurement methods, but I think I'm just going to go with this low-tech method. It's probably got the least amount of bozo factor. So next step is to go ahead and cut this scale. I do need to take out, we'll take the end off, and I do need to take out the stainless steel cover before we cut it. I didn't get a chance to film everything, but we did make our cut with the chop saw. That worked good, although it did not cut as clean as I would have liked it to, so I ended up putting the track back in the mill and just clean the end up. Just a little dust off cut with an end mill just to clean it up, get it nice and square. The stainless steel cover, of course, I had that pulled out when I did the chop saw cut. This I just cut with a pair of scissors, no problem. And I put the end piece back on. I did run a die, not a die, a tap to get the thread started. And I did hold this down on a surface plate when I tighten this up, pushing down on both so that everything is flat to the bottom side. Yeah. All right, so this is ready to go on. All right, we got our little bracket made. Got it drilled and tapped here. Matches up nicely to our reed head. Now that I've got this bracket completed, I went ahead and figured out where I need to shorten this bracket because I made it extra long. All right, I am really happy with the fit up. It went really smoothly. Didn't have to modify or tweak anything other than just adjusting the spacing. The angularity was essentially spot on first try. Our little feeler gauge spacer trick that we did to get the head spacing worked really good. Yeah, so that worked really good. Our cable management I think is going to be fine. I'm not going to do anything else with the cables until I get everything else installed. So anyways, I did check full travel, no issues. We're looking at the Z scale for the knee. So my original plan was to mount this scale flat with the slot on this side and the reed head mounted on the knee. But as I was starting to lay everything out, it made more sense to do it this way on edge like this. I made a little custom mounting block with a spacer, so that will give us the clearance we need. So I did have to make some wedge spacer blocks. They're 3-degree taper, top and bottom. There's one, pretty hard to see it, but there's one behind there as well. This bottom one was the one I used for adjustment. I had to take about an extra 30 thousandths of thickness out of that one in order to get the scale to indicate straight, okay, or plumb, I guess would be probably more accurate with the knee. All right, so I was planning on using this factory angle bracket, or supplied angle bracket, I should say, and I was going to put it right here. Which looks pretty good. I did have to cut a little relief cut here to give me access to that lubrication fitting. So not bad. The problem is I'm coming up short in the vertical travel with it up here. I lose about maybe an inch of my total vertical positioning. And you know, for the most part, that's no big deal, because I mean, look, the vise is getting up here pretty high. I mean, and it'll actually get within a few inches of the table when we're all the way to the top. So you don't use the upper part of the travel that often. But if I ever add a riser block to the column, then I would need that extra travel, or very likely would need it. So that's an issue there, okay? So if we go below this lubrication fitting and mount our bracket here, okay, likewise, now we have plenty of travel in the upward direction, but when we get down to the bottom, I'm losing about an inch. And it's more likely that you would need the bottom extreme of your travel on the knee in case you had a large item that you're trying to mill or machine. So I don't like that. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new one of these, and I'm going to design it so that it can straddle that Zerk fitting. So I've got a piece of aluminum angle. It's a little rough, but I think it'll work. So out of this, I'm going to fabricate a new L bracket with the center area relieved for access to the grease fitting, or not grease fitting, but lubrication fitting. Okay, so I think that's the way we're going to proceed. And yeah, when I ordered the scale, I ordered an extra 5 inches of travel because I was kind of thinking I would need some adjustment range. In hindsight, I probably should have got the next length longer, which would have been about another 2 inches of travel, because I've got plenty of room here. I could have mounted, you know, lower here, and then this would have worked fine mounted below the lubrication fitting. But this is going to work out. I'll get that custom bracket made. Well, our little bracket came out pretty nice. I would have liked to have filmed that, but I needed my full concentration. That was all hand feeding by eye to the scribe line. And I'm sure I would have messed up if the camera was on. I did have one little hiccup right here, a little bit of an overfeed. Don't tell anybody. Well, there you go. Everything made it up really nice. Nothing binding, everything fit just perfect. I'm really happy. All right, all I got to do is take out these alignment guides, and this one is done. Well, there's our little mounting bracket all done. I've removed all the offending bits that we didn't need. I also put a little relief cut in the back here because where this mounts is going to be really close to the split line between the table and the saddle. So I just wanted to have a little extra clearance just to be on the safe side. Alright, well, I'm going to hit this with some cold bluing to try to make it look a little more presentable. I tried to get all the mill scale off. I hit it with some wet and dry and so forth, but there's some, some of that mill scaling is down there in the pores of the metal. It just ain't coming out. So hopefully a little bit of cold bluing. It'll look halfway decent. Alright, and then after that we'll get it installed. Well, I think it looks a little better after the cold bluing. At least it's a consistent color. Yeah, cold bluing does not hide any imperfections, so if you want a nice finish, you've got to have it perfect before you do the bluing process, but I think that'll be fine. I'm going to make my own mounting arms or arm assembly for the display head. I didn't like the one that came with it. So I've already prepared some rectangular steel tubing, cleaned it up and primed it. So this will be much better than what it came with. This side is just going to bolt into the lifting eye location on the top of the ram. I'm going to add some more threads here and shorten the overall length, but that's how that's going to work. This side is just going to be a swivel with a bolt all the way through, and I picked up some flange plastic bushings that fit nicely. They're actually 10 millimeter, so this is a 3/8, so it's close enough. And then this side, I've got the bushings, same bushings. The mounting shaft on the display head is 10 millimeters, so these will fit perfect. And I got some end caps. Amazon, you get a bag for like $5. It's not even worth trying to make them. And I got some coming for this this size. This is 1x2, and this is 1.5 by 1. All right, let me put some holes and get this laid out, and I'll show you what we get. All right, I modified this bolt. I added some more threads, and I stopped the shoulder just at the where we go through the material there, so there's no slop. These plastic bushings are for 10 millimeter fasteners, which is what the reed head or the display head has for its mounting stud, so that they're perfect for that. But I figured they were close enough I could use a 3/8 bolt for our bolt through here, but it's pretty sloppy. Hard to show you with one hand here. But I looked through my stash and look at there. I actually have a 10 millimeter shoulder bolt that's I cut a little off, but it's essentially the perfect length and way tighter as far as slop goes. At some point I'm going to make a threaded knob to go on here. All right. Well, after seeing Max Grant's video on his cranky arms that he made for his DRO, I'm kind of embarrassed to show these. But I think I'll give them a try first. I can always remake them with some official bung type ends on here like he did. Yeah, so I used plastic bushings hoping to get a good fit on the through bolt. This one here's got a really nice fit. I've got to add more threads to this bolt and cut it to length. This is going to go in the lifting eye hole on the top of the ram on the Bridgeport. And then this one fits nicely to the stud that's on the DRO. And then I had to modify these little end caps. I had to do a little cutout, which was not easy to do cleanly with a soft material, but I think hopefully they'll work. This wing nut's just temporary. If this works, I'll get one of those regular machinery type arms to put on there. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, well, here's how it turned out. I think it's pretty good considering everything except for the plastic parts came out of my scrap bin. And it's pretty solid. I'm going to definitely have to make a knurled nut or some type of nut for there and for here. But I think for now, that's going to be just fine. Okay, time to hook it up. I'm setting the compensation and checking for repeatability. I'm on the X-axis right now, and I've done this several times. Let's see if you guys can see that. You see that okay? Yeah, all right. So let's back off, come back in. It's a tenths indicator. It's really hard holding the camera with one hand and trying to get that last little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're within, that's 4/100,000ths. Okay, so here's my setup. I've got a 4-inch gauge block. That's a Pratt & Whitney gauge block. It looks a little worse for wear, but it's very, very accurate. Okay, and I got it against a 1-2-3 block here that's squared up and anchored down to the table. Let's pull that gauge block out and we'll run her in. Sorry about the handheld shakiness here. Went too far. Okay. So there you go. Only off by 4/100ths. That's pretty dang good. And I've been doing this back and forth, and it's pretty good on repeatability. I mean, it will vary. Okay, and then let me show you how we adjust that. All right, so to adjust the compensation, your menu items are here down at the bottom, so we'll just navigate using the arrows. And right there, compensation. All right, make sure you're on the axis that you're adjusting. We're on the X-axis. It'll show you your actual value. And compensation type in our case is linear because it's a linear scale, right? We're not using a rotary encoder. We're not worried about backlash, so here you just put in the actual length that you're measuring. So in my case, I was using a 4-inch gauge block. So depending on what you see here, if you see something that's a mismatch, then you're here on your actual length. You hit enter. Or no, sorry, no, you hit the wrench button, set button. And then with the keypad, you just type in the value that you're using as your standard. And then hit enter. And then you'll see that this compensation value will change. I don't want to change it now because I've got it dialed. Okay. But yeah, it's that easy. And well, I found you have to do it multiple times, because when you zero it the first time, or when you set the actual length the first time, it will affect the zero on the other side. So you got to go back and forth about 3 times, and then it's good and repeatable. Okay, so that's that, and then cancel gets us out of that, back to our normal display.